One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.
So if I'm at one of your properties, Mark, and I'm the GM at, let's say Little Rock, although there's maybe not a GM at Little Rock yet, but let's use Little Rock as an example, since that's a new deal for you guys. If I'm the GM at Little Rock, how quickly can I press go on this? What's the ramp time? What's the training time? Is it solely a play that is it going to require this summer a bunch of training for your IMGC staff? How does it work from the rollout standpoint at your properties?
You know, that's a great question. So there is no ramp time, right? This Mogo is a full service agency. So the beauty of this isn't that they just provide the tools. They provide the expertise and the domain experience to execute these campaigns. So what Mogo does is come in and say, all right, let's understand, let's say it's talking about, hockey at a school, right? Let's understand better your audience. So they learn from the athletic department what the audience is like. They try to get an understanding. If they're a SIDEARM school in particular, then Mogo can leverage the understanding of the demographics off the SIDEARM platform. They can better understand who's going to the hockey section of that website, and then they can push out and better understand that fan and go out and execute the campaign. So they'll get the creative from the athletic department, but Mogo is really a full service operation. So it can be up in a matter of days. And it doesn't take a lot of effort from the athletic department. And more importantly, it doesn't take really sophisticated understanding and experience in digital marketing. That's what Mogo brings to the table.
So what about if I'm a seller on one of these staffs? I'm dialing for dollars, which is a terrible term, and I shouldn't have used it. But if I'm in the marketplace and I'm trying to drive group sales, season ticket sales at an institution, do I have a fear of this eating into my share of quality leads, or are these same leads could be cross-pollinated, digital or physical, one-on-one on the phone, right?
That's a great question, and that's absolutely right. So no, this is what, and I spent a lot of time with Rob Stein, who leads our ticket solutions business, talking about the impact this could have for his business in particular, is that this is what he will call his extra salesperson. And so what this can do is generate, right? Because a lot of people aren't going to necessarily buy season tickets online. They're not going to actually push the button and make that transaction. What they'll do is go give information, and then it will be sold. So you'll be able to track how many leads and how many people eventually buy tickets through their dashboards. But there may be a human intervention. This isn't always just about pure digital play, but it's talking about how do you find at scale in a certain metropolitan area? How do you take the, let's call it 30 to 38-year-old males and females that are identified by Mogo as fans of the hockey program, and give them one message, and give the 40 to 55-year-olds another message that is successful and impactful in having these folks reach back out or go directly to the site and buy tickets. It's an amplification of your sales force. You're able to communicate directly with your fans at scale. So for 15 cents, 25 cents, you've actually touched your fan 10 times during the consideration cycle for tickets, as opposed to having left one message on the voicemail.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let's do one more example. So another example I'm interested in is if I'm, let's say I'm on the South Carolina sales staff and I'm in Columbia, and South Carolina men's basketball is surging. Heck, we could use the example of women's basketball as well.
Yep.
How is Mogo's strategic approach to the marketplace? How does it compare to maybe the secondary market? So let's say South Carolina is hosting Kentucky, and we know there's going to be a significant secondary market. Are there tweaks or comparisons between how Ticketmaster or StubHub would also be approaching this market from a lot of the same strategy, terminology, and execution that we're talking about Mogo doing? They'd be doing the same thing. So where do those two play together, or is that just where the market sorts itself out?
Yeah, so they do a little different, right? So rarely, StubHub is not going to go out and try to find, South Carolina women's basketball fans and sell them. What they will do is say, when someone raises their hand to say, I'm a South Carolina women's basketball fan by searching on Google, then they want to be the number one result for tickets, right? So if you search South Carolina women's basketball tickets, StubHub wants to be the number one search, and they'll pay for that, right? The flip side of what Mogo does is they can do that, but they do a lot more. So instead they say, all right, what is this? I'll give you an example. Let's say someone is on a SIDEARM. I'll just use generic schools for ease, but they visited a SIDEARM official athletic site women's basketball page, right? And then they have then identified themselves, and through the integration between SIDEARM and Mogo, this works seamlessly. At that point, they've probably identified themselves as a women's basketball fan. As they travel through that SIDEARM site, they may be served up women's basketball ticket messages. They may be served up messages depending on the demographic, season tickets. It all depends on how you design the campaign, and that's where the expertise comes along that Mogo has. But then as they go out to the web, they're also being served up these ads at various times across all of their devices. And so it's not that they're getting inundated with these ads. The key part is for it to be really natural and really kind of holistic. And so now you're going out and you're doing that. Ticketmaster's not doing that. StubHub is not doing that. They're not going out and trying to identify the fan. And then if you take it one step further, and you asked me about how these start to play together, if you take it one step further, you've got this universe of South Carolina women's basketball fans. If they're a KLEARintel school, and so they have a really robust database that's able to bring in, names, email addresses, demographic information, behavioral information. They bought T-shirts from, the Fanatics site. They did this or that, right? You bring all those pieces together. With that database, you can now segment to find those folks on the web or to find like people on the web. And then you're communicating with those folks as well. So you can see how it kind of amplifies our KLEARintel partnership as well.
Oh, I don't mean to use a pun here, but it's clear now why you put some pieces together and how, 1 + 1 + 1 = 5, or however that math would be in terms of just accentuating the different data that can be passed along and how you can leverage and monetize it, which this term big data that we've all been throwing around for a number of years now, and maybe we're finally trying to figure out what exactly it means. This is a play there.
Yeah, no, that's right. And what we've tried to do with both KLEARintel, well, actually across all of our extended business lines, but what you can see it with SIDEARM, KLEARintel, and Mogo, is to be able to do it at scale so that we're taking things that would, in the case of Mogo, if you wanted to do this on your own and you were a school, you're going to have to spend millions of dollars in ad tech, right? You're going to have to hire 3 or 4 or 5 people who are experts in the space, who are experts in executing it. The answer is with those 3 or 4 or 5 people, they're not going to be busy all the time running these campaigns. So it doesn't make sense to employ them year round. Then they're going to have to be people that have spent, to replicate what Mogo does, is spent years and years and years doing these types of campaigns and tweaking them and learning them and getting the domain expertise. So it just doesn't make sense. Instead, you could have a really successful campaign with the same technology and the same strategy as an Amazon for, it depends on what you want to spend. It could be $50,000, it could be $100,000. What we found is schools and performing arts centers and even, the Feld folks who are, very sophisticated marketers, they start little, and then every day they start to see that it's 20 to 1, 30 to 1, whatever the ROI is in a particular campaign. And like anybody, they say, well, heck, I can actually see these things working. I'm going to spend more and more because I'm making, exponentially more, driving exponentially more revenue and messaging my fans the right way. And so that's what makes it powerful. And that's what we try to bring to our school partners.
Will some of your school partners turn this on this basketball season, this current basketball season?
I would think so. We've seen a really significant number of or expressions of interest from our school partners. in really short order. You remember we announced it, I don't know, about 10 days ago or something like that. And we've seen significant interest in it. And as you can imagine, this is able at low cost to market products that, perish over time. So it becomes really important, and there is a sense of urgency. You want to market those tickets. If you don't sell them before the game, then they're not worth anything after the game. And so we think there'll be a lot of demand for this. Whether they turn on, in time, I think so, because it's so quick to do. And we've also had a lot of conversations, again, with Rob Sign in advance of this deal. So we think there'll be a lot of use from a ticket solution standpoint as well. Because our ticket solutions business are, when you think about the number of tickets they sell, they're probably they're the largest ticket sales organization of any place. So they have real expertise and they kind of know what they need. So this kind of commercial grade solution is perfect for them.
Yeah, and I don't mean to really pin you down to a number, but is there a inflection point, let's say next football season, of adoption among your portfolio schools that would be that you'd be satisfied with?
No, I don't think we think about it like that. The way we look at it is, the extent we can provide a solution, we think that it's going to be really valuable to our schools. If that's not the case, that's okay. Our job is to present that solution, to hopefully explain it, and to hopefully transmit kind of the excitement that we have for it and the help that we think we can provide. And then they try it. If someone tries it, like the old adage, they try it, they're going to like it, because they can see there's no leap of faith around this. You can see for each dollar spent what the impact is. And so we think it's going to take off. We think it's going to take off. But the key thing in all of it is not just taking off and a lot of adoption. It's that it works really well for our schools, and I feel really confident it will.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.